Welcome to I Am a Hebrew, Ivri Anochi, learning biblical Hebrew through the book of Jonah, class number 17. I am Rabbi Rafi Mallet, everybody's Rebbe. This class is brought to you by the Seattle Kollel, seattlekollel.com, SeattleKollel. You can head on down there, take a look at their programs supporting Torah and the Jewish community of Seattle and beyond. You can make a donation over there. If you'd like to donate directly to the channel, there is a link in the video description. If you would like to become a channel member, you can go to my YouTube channel and hit the join button. If you would like to contribute to the channel in other ways during the live stream, you can purchase a super chat, which will be a highlighted comment. There's also super thanks on any of my videos. You can make a donation. And if you'd like to study with me, site rabbirafimallet.com. Go to my calendar and make an appointment. In the meantime, you can enjoy all the content on my channel for free. Email me at rabbi@rabbirafimallet.com. If you'd like to be part of the live studio, email me rabbi@rabbirafimallet.com, and you can get the weekly emails with the live studio in the class. And you can questions, and I'll do my best to answer in as timely a manner as I can. If I am not super timely at responding, please be understanding that I'm busy with a lot of things and I try my best, and I'm only human. So we are up to Jonah chapter 2, verse 3. We have Jonah thrown overboard into the sea, and he's swallowed by the giant sea creature of whatever sort it was. And you can, in the previous class number 16. We've got David Ivans in the chat. We've got Tim Flanagan in the chat. Because dishes. What a dutiful son. We have in the live studio Abigail and Tom. Shout out to all my members. And Sandy is also here. Great. Okay, we're going to share to the screen. This is the link sheet. There is a link to the link sheet. That's not what I meant to do. There's a link to the link sheet in the video description, in the chat, the live chat, in the email, whichever way you're accessing this class. There's a link to this resource sheet. We are up to the chapter 2 worksheets. So to work along with us, you'll click on that link. You'll open up the worksheets. And then you will go to File, Make a Copy. And I'm going to number this 17 because it's class number 17. And you'll be able, once you make the copy, you'll be able to work inside your copy to edit it. You won't be able to edit the copy that you make. Let's scroll down to verse. Well, what do we have in verse number 1 last week? Is that God summoned this big fish, as it were, a great sea creature to swallow Jonah. And Jonah was in the belly of the fish for 3 days and 3 nights. That's where we left off. I'm sorry. That was verse 1. Verse 2, Jonah prayed to Hashem, prayed to God, Hashem, his God, from the belly of the fish. That's where we left off. And now verse number 3. Any questions before we begin from the live chat or from the live studio?
Nope.
Okay, so anytime you would like to speak up or type something in the chat, everybody knows they're always welcome. Okay, we're going to read it. We're going to read it in Hebrew with the cantillation, and then we'll begin translating. Okay, here we go. It goes like this. Vayomer karasi mitzarali el Adonai vaya'aneni mi beten sheol Shivati Shamata Koli. Okay, so now let's understand. Here's Jonah's prayer over here. So the word now, again, because we're in chapter 2, we're sort of at level 2 over here. So what I've done is I used to in chapter 1 color code every word, every prefix, every shoresh, every suffix to clue in the student of which part of the word are we looking at, and therefore look at the glossary to interpret it. Now at this point I would like to see the students doing more of the decoding on their own, that is breaking up the word, which part is the shoresh, which part is the prefix, suffix, etc. Now this word vayomer is so common, I'm hoping by now without any color coding our students can tell us what the word vayomer means. So I'll throw the ball into your court. Who's going to the word vayomer?
And he said.
And he said, very good. So I have 3 lines. That's also a clue that it's three words in English. And he said, and who is the he that is doing the saying in this verse, do you suppose?
Jonah.
It's Jonah. So what did Jonah say over here? He says, karosi or karate. Has nothing to do with karate chop. Different language. Karate. Here you can see that I highlighted the blue. That means it's a new suffix. And so to learn what the suffix is, we're over to our glossary. Now at the bottom of the worksheet is a link to the glossary. So we can click on that, open it up. Okay, looking at our glossary, I'll magnify that. We want to go to our suffixes, and we want the suffix that's a taf yud, T, that T suffix. So let's see if we can find that. Okay, here we are in the suffixes section. We're looking for the taf yud, T suffix. So you can see it's here in the past tense section. That T, sometimes with a dot, sometimes without a dot, at the end of the word indicates I in the past tense. I did this action. So Jonah's saying I something. What is the something that he did? Back to the worksheet. No, that's the original. I need the copy. Okay, back to the worksheet. Karati. I did this verb kara. Now, kara is a verb we had in the course earlier. So I want my students to know kara. What did I do? And Jonah said, I what?
Called.
Okay, called. Okay. We have Tom for the save. And Tim and Tom and Tim are right there. So I called. So let's put I here in the blue. Okay, I called. Now this line is harder. Okay, a little bit of euphemistic language. We are in a poetic section. His prayer is poetic. He says, I called mi tsarali. So let's start over here with mi. Mi is a prefix we had before. And mi prefix means what, my students?
From.
That's right. So I called from, and now we're going to have to, before we write the translation, just get the individual parts and figure out how it would best be said or clearest be said in English, even if idiomatically in the Hebrew poetry it might literally translate somewhat differently. Okay, so because you have to respect, there's the Hebrew idiom and there's the English idiom. There's how it would be expressed in Hebrew and there's how it would be expressed in English. And it's not always literally parallel. So you have to do a little bit of interpretation. So from tsarali, so let's go with tsara. Tsara is a new word, as you can see in the green. So we'll switch over to our glossary and we'll go to our green vocabulary. And we want a word that starts with the letter tsadi, which we only have one of those. Tsara is trouble. Okay. Tsara is trouble. So hold that thought. Tsara is trouble. So from trouble, I called from trouble li. Now, what does the word li mean? I don't want to give too much away because, again, I left it uncoded because I feel at this point we should have students that could already translate the word li. So how would one translate the word li?
To
Okay.
him.
Okay, close. So the lamed prefix is to, and then the e suffix, the yud with the e sound under the lamed. E is not, what did you say, him? It's not him. What is e suffix?
It's a plural, isn't it?
It's not a plural.
Oh.
That would be im with a mem at the end would be plural, with just e. So here, Tim says my. So he's not incorrect that e could mean my. It could mean my or very close to my. I'll just give you a hint. My is like possessive, my something. But if I don't have the something that follows it, then it's not indicating possession. It's just indicating the pronoun. So it's which pronoun would it be? That would be me. Me. Right?
Mhm.
So li would be to me or for me, because lamed prefix could also be for. So
Oh.
I called from trouble to me, or I called from trouble for me. It's a kind of awkward in Hebrew. I want to just look at Sandy's comment, to Hashem. So I think Sandy is looking at the yud and thinking maybe the yud is like an abbreviation for God's name, which begins with yud. That is not the case here, but I like your creative thinking, Sandy. But it is to me. So here, meet Sarali, from trouble to me, we would say a little bit more smoothly in English, my trouble. Okay. I called from my trouble. And really, you might say, I called out. That's also acceptable. I called out from my trouble, meaning because I am in a state of trouble, I'm in trouble. I am therefore, from my state of being in trouble, I am calling out to Hashem, right? And he said, Karati mitzarali, I have called out from the trouble that is currently affecting me, from my trouble. Mitzarali. El Hashem. Okay, very easy. Go ahead. It's really two. There should be two lines here. Two, not one. El Hashem. It's an easy one. Go for it. So here's where Sandy, her instincts were right. We hadn't gotten to the next line, but her instincts were telling her this is the logical continuation of the verse. I called out from my trouble to Hashem. Okay. So, right there, Sandy, here was the implied Hashem, and here Sandy got the direct Hashem. So, I called out from my trouble to Hashem. For those who aren't familiar, Hashem is how we refer in Hebrew to God in a casual sense, when we don't want to invoke the divine name. And he said, I called from my trouble to Hashem. Vaya'aneni. So this will be harder. You could see there's two segments of the word I highlighted because they're both somewhat new. But the first part, the vayud, is already old hat. So I did not highlight the prefix. Let's start with that. Who's going to translate for me the vayud prefix, vaya? So,
And
he did something.
And he did, right. And he did something. And here the he is, who's the he now?
Hashem.
In the beginning of the verse, when the narrative was telling us who is speaking, is and he said, and he, Jonah, said, and this is what he said. I called up from my trouble to Hashem, and he, Hashem, who I'm now speaking about, did this. So we have the shoresh here with an ayin and a nun. As we established, shorashim have three letters. And them is fighting words for some people if they know grammar, but the simple approach is that a shoresh has 3 letters, and we're going with that. So there is a 3rd letter that's missing. We know the missing letters are typically Yud, Vav, Nun, or Hey, which coincidentally spell the word Yonah, which is a good mnemonic. So we want to look in our glossary and find a shoresh with those 2 letters and a 3rd letter. Okay, so let's look for that. We'll go up to our yellow shorashim, and we've got shin words, reish, kuf, pei, and here's ayin. So we had the ayin and the nun, which you see right here, and there's that hey, the disappearing hey. So the ayin nun hey means to answer. Okay, it could mean other things, but I don't want to go too far afield of our context. So in this context, it means to answer. And so we go back to our worksheet. So, and he did what?
Answered me.
And he answered. I called out to Hashem for my trouble, and he answered. And then I have ni. Now, ni suffix, it's blue. So it's blue is new. So we'll peek at the glossary in the blue suffix section. Got to pass all these green words here. We've really built up our glossary quite a bit in 2 chapters, in one chapter and a bit. So we're looking for ni suffix. Ni. We are the knights who say ni. And if you don't tell me what ni means, I will say ni to you. And you will bring us a shrubbery. Ni.
Thank you, Monty.
Ni suffix is me. So now we come back to our worksheet, and he answered. What's that?
And that ties in with the E that we looked at before, right? That's also me.
Yes, correct. Related. That's right. These are related. The E, ni, me. That's right. So vaya'ane ni, and he answered me. I called out from my trouble to Hashem, and he answered me. Now we have mi beten sha'ol. Here's that mem prefix again, just like we had over here. From. Nice and easy. And I put in the kind of implied words here to make it easier. There's some implied words. From the beten. Okay.
Belly.
And beten is belly. Good. Beten. From the belly. Now, we had also me'eh previously. Me'eh hadag, the belly of the me'eh has more to do with, the innards, the intestines, whatever, but euphemistically we translated belly over there. Beten more directly means belly. From the beten, from like stomach, right? Mi beten, from the belly of the Sheol. Okay, now Sheol is a tough word. I don't know if anyone knows offhand Sheol, but we have in the glossary.
Yeah, we say Sheol, so
Sheol.
Underworld. Yeah.
Yeah. So Sheol, like it would be spelled in English, Sheol, right? Sheol, but it's pronounced Sheol. Sheol is the grave or the underworld. So here he's like saying from the belly of the grave. And if you want underworld, whatever, but Sheol could be a word that means literally the grave, like a person goes to the grave, Sheol. But it could refer not just to like a physical underground, but it like what I put over there, like underworld. Sometimes it could be a euphemism for like the afterlife, but kind of in a negative way, if you know what I mean. So from the belly of the grave, that's how I'm choosing to translate it. We'll see from the belly of the grave what? Shivati. Okay, here's another hard one, but this you should already recognize because we had karati, I called out. So this is shivati. So once again, we have the T, we have I did. I did what? Shiva. And what does this word Shiva mean? Well, oh, did I forget to, I forgot to change tabs. Okay, sorry. Anyway, over here, mi beten, Sheol, I filled in from the belly of the grave. Sorry that I wasn't displaying that. And then Shivati, I, Shiva. Okay, so then we go to the glossary back here. And we'll go up to the shin words, okay? Shin vav. Why is it not here? Because I forgot to add it. Why did I forget to add it? I don't know. All right, we'll add it now. How do I add a row? Insert row below. Put it right over here. No, Hebrew, please. That's the wrong letter. Why is it giving me that letter? Oh, I have to hit Alt to get the shin. Okay. Shiva, okay, does anyone know this offhand? It's huh?
No, go ahead. No, I don't.
It's a type of prayer. What were you going to say?
Well, I was still thinking of Shuva, but no, that's
okay. It's
return.
Not quite related to teshuva, but I do want to share some insights about the word Shiva. Okay, because we had, if we go back to the worksheet for a second, we had previously in verse 2, Vayit Palel Yonah, which we translated as and Jonah prayed. And we spoke quite at length about this root, why this is the root for prayer and what it means. It means thought, and this is a reflexive verb, the meditative thought that's meant to characterize prayer, right? So this word Vayit Palel is much deeper than the word prayer. And we have 10 different words for prayer. I think Rashi points out in verse 1 of the Psalms, but or maybe it's 10 different words for praise. I don't remember exactly what he says there, but he talks about these different forms of prayer. And here's another one. Okay, we have Shiva. Okay, when I say to pray, well, what's the difference between that and lehit palel or tefillah, that type of prayer that's thought? So Shiva, I'll say a few things about it. Shiva is related to a few words in Hebrew. One of them that people may think of, or you may not. People don't realize that the word sha'ah in Hebrew, which means an hour, or a time, sha'ah, is a verb that means to turn. We think about the turning of the hours and the turning of the clock, and that's actually a term that predates clocks. And nevertheless, the turning of the shadows, you could think of like the sundials. The passage of time is always related to the motion of turning, cycles. The earth turns. The earth goes around the sun, even if people thought the sun went around the earth, but it's cycles and circles turning. The idea of prayer that's Shiva which has the shin and the ayin from the word sha'ah, which is to turn, even though that's the word for time or an hour, is the idea of turning to God for help. Okay, that's one layer of meaning here. Another one is the word in Hebrew sha'ava. Sha'ava, which if you invert the vav and the ayin, sha'ava means wax. And it's interesting because a wick is also related to prayer. People don't realize this. A wick is a pitil. Now you'll notice we go to Vayit Palel, and the Tefillah, which is the Taf Pei Lamed, which means prayer, is the same letters as the word pitil, which means a wick. Now, wick is twisted, right? Here also, Shiva, I told you about turning. Twisting a wick is that motion of twisting a wick, like you're taking threads and you're twisting them into a wick. That is also known as shua, which which is the same letters, the shin vav ayin. It's a twisting, a turning. Okay, and what does that have to do with prayer? Because listen to this: when a person is, you can just imagine a person so desperate that they contort themselves in prayer. They're contorting their faces, twisting their faces in desperation, in desperate prayer. Even their bodies become contorted and twisted in this desperate motion that reaches to God in prayer. That's the type of prayer we're talking about. It's a turning to God, but a desperate turning, a twisting, a contorting of the self, which again even is somewhat reflected in tefillah in its relation to the word pitil, which means a wick, which is twisted. And more than that, see, you lose so much in English, right? More than that, sha'ava is the wax. So imagine a wax candle that's just melting. It's just melting. What wax is melting. That imagine a person that he's crying tears in his prayer. The tears are dripping down, and he's like melting in his prayer. He's melting before God. So this type of intensity of prayer, that's a turning to God, it's a twisting, it's a contortion of the self in desperation. It's a dripping with tears and melting in one's prayer. This is the connotation of Shiva, okay? And again, it's not too far removed from the connotation of tefillah in its linguistic connection to the pitil, the wick of the candle itself. So here's the wick. Here's the wax, okay? And it's very intense imagery. Anyway, now people I'll go even further. Why not? People, they look at Jews praying. What do Jews do when they pray? Anybody notice a special motion when Jews pray?
They rock.
They rock back and forth, right? They shake. In Yiddish, this is called shuckling. Shuckling, which means shaking. Jews shake when they pray. They sway back and forth. And it's interesting. I have a little story. When I was a young man, maybe 18 probably, in Jerusalem, I remember late one night, 1 or 2 in the morning, I went to the Western Wall, and it was very quiet. But at any time you go to the Western Wall, there are Jews there praying. It's the dead of night. It's quiet, but there are a handful of Jews praying at the wall, and they're swaying, And so if you've been there, you know what I'm talking about. If you've seen pictures, maybe you can visualize or imagine. In front of the wall, there's a courtyard. That courtyard area, that's where the people come to pray. There's a men's section, there's a divider, and there's a women's section. Behind that courtyard, as you move further away, there's another kind of divider, and then there's the public square where everybody's milling about. Okay, this is now at this time of night, it's pretty quiet. There's not so many people around, but I was in just outside that divider in the public square, dividing between the public square and the prayer area. So I had eyes into the prayer area, but I was waiting there because, as a matter of fact, I was expecting a friend of mine to arrive on a late night flight with a group, and they said they were coming straight to the Western Wall. This is before this was pretty, I wouldn't say totally before cell phones, but it's before cell phones were widespread. I didn't have one. Maybe the rich kids had them. So I couldn't get a call from the person to know, like, I'm coming, I'm not coming. I heard they're going to be there. I waited all night, didn't show up. Turns out, whatever, the flight was delayed. They ended up going straight to the hotel. But I was waiting there, hoping my friend would arrive. So I'm looking out, and I notice at some point, like, tears falling next to me as I'm, like, sitting there. And I look up, and there's a woman next to me, and she's watching what's going on in the courtyard of the prayer area in front of the wall, and she's crying. And I'm like, "Are you okay?" And she says to me, she's very, very emotional. "Why do they sway?" She says to me, "Why do they sway?" And so I gave her the answer that I'm going to share with you now. But she was so moved by just the sight of these Jewish men who were engaged in this silent prayer in a swaying motion. She just was overcome by tears. Now, they call the Wailing Wall. People are very emotional when they come to this wall. There's something very powerful about it, something otherworldly. So I don't know if she cried for the wall. This was not a Jewish lady, it turns out. She's just, non-Jewish lady from somewhere in Europe. I don't remember where, Norway, Denmark, I don't remember. Somewhere, the Scandinavian countries. And she came to see this, and she didn't know what she was looking at. But nevertheless, it moved her to tears to see it. She asked me a whole lot of questions about Judaism, which I answered. She thought we believed in the rapture. I never heard of the rapture at that point in my life. She's like, don't you all believe that you're all going to fly up to heaven? I'm like, what? It was the craziest thing I ever heard. And then I met Christians. Anyway, so why did they sway, right? So there's this idea that the soul is like a neshama, a soul is compared to a candle, a ner, and specifically the wick, the flame of the candle. Okay, that's why we light candles in memory of the departed souls. It's called a ner neshama, a soul candle. What does it say? Ner Hashem nishmat Adam. It's actually a verse. The candle of God is the soul of man. I didn't make it up. Ner Hashem nishmat Adam. Where is that verse? I don't remember offhand. Maybe Proverbs. Someone will look it up. The candle of God is the soul of man. So when a person engages in prayer and he's engaged in the spiritual act, his body sways like the flame atop a candle. He becomes like, and it's not like anybody's thinking that. We're not like, oh, now I have to act like a candle. No, there's this natural motion that occurs when the Jew engages in prayer, which is an expression of the flame of the soul ignited inside in prayerful communion with Hashem. Anyway, so the connection between a candle and prayer is in the words of prayer. Tefillah, from the word pitil, or I don't say from the word, but related to the word, meaning a wick, and shiva, like we have over here, like sha'ava, the number one, it's like the wax, but also shua, the turning or twisting of the candle. Anyway, I went through all that, so I'm not going to do it again. Fine. Let's talk. It's poetic, very poetic verse. Anyway,
can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Is this the same Shiva in yeshiva and also in sitting Shiva?
No, both different. And ironically so. A yeshiva is from the Hebrew root yashav, yud shin vet, which means to sit. And the idea is you sit in study. A yeshiva literally just means a sitting. And it refers to the sitting with study. Okay, that's the yeshiva. Sitting Shiva has nothing to do with sitting, even though we call it sitting Shiva because we sit low to the ground in mourning. It's a mourning period when someone dies. And the act of mourning involves sitting low to the ground. So during mourning, we sit low to the ground. But the word Shiva, we're sitting Shiva. Shiva is the Hebrew number 7, Shiva, because Jews will mourn for 7 days. So we sit on the ground for 7 days in mourning. The 7 is Shiva, and that's spelled Shin Vet Ayin Hey. This Shiva here is Shin Vav Ayin. So they all sound similar, but they all are from different roots. So that's yeshiva, sitting and study. Sitting Shiva, which means sitting on the ground for 7 days in mourning. And this Shiva is prayer. Okay, all different roots, but I like that your ear is paying attention to the homonym. Thank you, Tim. Tim says Proverbs 20:27 is the verse I was saying. Ner Hashem nishmat Adam, the candle of God is the soul of man. So I didn't have the citation. I just know verses by heart. I don't know where they are though. What would I rather know, the citation or the verse? I'll go with the verse. Yeah. Oh, Tom, you got it in the private chat. I see that. Okay, so Tim and Tom, once again, are you the same guy? Are you like Superman and Clark Kent?
I'll never tell.
Okay, so we're going to translate simply, I prayed. But when I say pray, now you understand that it's 20 minutes of explanation what type of prayer we're talking about. Fine. For the belly of the grave, I prayed. Right here, I called out, and he answered me. From the belly of the grave, I prayed, Shamata Koli. Okay, this is also, you see, I colored it because a lot of it's new. Let's start with Shamata. Now, you'll see in the English, the blue comes first. The suffix here isn't going to come first in the English. So the ta suffix, okay, we'll go to that first. The ta suffix, let's take a look at the glossary. Go to our blue suffixes. Shamata. So ta. Where are you? Ta. There's T and there's ta. So we had T already today. We had T in the class. We had T. It was tea time, which was I in the past. Ta is you in the past, which is somewhat easy to remember because in Hebrew, ata, the word ata, aleph taf hey, ata means you. So when I end the verb with ta, it means you did it. You did this verb, okay? And it's specifically masculine, okay? For feminine, it would be the taf without the vowel. It would be a taf with what is called a shiva, which is silent. So it would be, instead of like shamata is you, shama, you did that verb. For a woman, it would be shamat, just the T sound alone, shamat for feminine. Here we're dealing with masculine, shamata. So, you, we'll capitalize the you because he's talking to Hashem. You Shama. Now, Shama should be an easy word because it's very familiar, at least to Jews. We know from the Shema, which is, what is this verb?
Heard.
You heard. Very good. Tim got it also. You heard, right? Heard. Shama, to hear. Shema Yisrael, hear, O Israel. Right? Very familiar. You heard. You heard what? Koli. So here's the E ending, which comes first over here again. And we had it already. We had E. We had it here. And it's my. Okay. You heard my what? You heard my kol.
Voice.
Kol is a voice or a sound, but in the context here, it means the sound of my voice. So it's a voice. You heard my voice. Okay. And he said, Jonah said, I called out from my trouble to Hashem, and he answered me. From the belly of the grave I prayed. You heard my voice. Okay. So far, so good. Any questions?
No.
Good. Okay. We can go on to verse 4. That was 3. Unless anyone has an objection or a question. Okay. Let's see what we can do in the last 15 minutes. Maybe we'll stop in the middle. It's not necessarily so easy. Okay, I gave you a doozy here. It's Vatashlicheni Mitsula. Let's read the whole verse in Hebrew because it's beautiful and with the cantillation. Vatashlicheni Mitsula bilvav yamim v'nahar yisoveveni kol mishbarecha v'galecha alai avaru. Okay, so what does that mean? Vatashlicheni mitzula. There's a bunch of new things here. Number 1, we have a new prefix vata. Okay, so we had before like va yud was and he. So vataf, the vataf prefix is going to be something similar but different. Okay, here's the vayud, right? And he vataf it can mean one of two things, and it's going to depend on context. So you look for context clues. It's either and you did, again, past tense, or and she. And the you is masculine, and the she is obviously feminine. So it can be confusing, but you got to pay attention to context clues. Is this verb and you did speaking to a masculine subject, and she did, speaking about a feminine subject in the third person. So you got to look at the clues. Now here, presumably because it's Jonah's prayer to God, it's going to be and you. Okay. And you, capitalize the Y in English for God. And you, we have this shoresh, shin lamed chaf, new shoresh. We'll go to the glossary. Okay. Let's go to our shin shorashim. Okay. Shin lamed chaf, to throw or to cast. Okay. Once again, you'll similar like we had before, vayatileni or whatever. We had the lahatil was also to cast. We had, and that was in the hifil form, the causative form. This is also in the causative form, and for those who can recognize it, right? Because you have the first two letters of the shoresh, and and then a yud separating to the third letter in the shoresh, like in hifil, right, where you'd have the pei ayin and then yud lamed hifil. So vatashlicheni, you cast me. Who remembers? Me.
Me.
That's right. And you cast me, and I had these implied words. You cast me to the, because otherwise the verse doesn't make sense. And so we accept the poetic idiom that it's implied. And you cast me mitzula. And mitzula means, as we'll see in the green vocabulary words here, mitzula is the depths of the sea. Now, the root of mitzula, I'm only thinking about this right now, actually, is the word sail in Hebrew, which means shade. And I think the idea of mitzula being the depths of the sea is somewhere that's, shaded from the light of the sun, right? Because the sun has a hard time penetrating the ocean. So it's shaded in a certain way, mitzula. So it's the depths of, specifically depths of water. Okay. So you cast me to the depths. Okay. And you cast me to the depths. Bilvav. Here, I filled it in here. And you cast me to the depths. Bilvav yamim. Okay. So we have a bet prefix. Who's going to translate that for me?
In.
Good. In the levav. Does anyone recognize that word?
Heart. Yeah,
heart, like lave, heart, lave or levav. Lave or levav is heart. In the heart of the yamim we had before. Yamim.
Waters.
Seas.
Waters would be mayim.
Seas.
What? Seas, right. Because you remember, yam is the sea, is a sea. Im is plural. Yamim, seas. And remember, we had before the whole difference between the word yamim, meaning seas, and yamim with a kamatz, which Ashkenazim would pronounce yomim, which means days. Remember that class? Okay. Go back to that class. Okay. You cast me to the depths in the heart of the seas. Okay. Vinahar. So, the vav prefix is easy.
And
we have a new word here, nahar. Nahar is right over. Hey, how come it's not in my thing? How do I keep forgetting to add these? Wrong place. It's the wrong place. It goes here. What'd you say?
It's in your notes.
It's in the notes. Don't look at the notes. That's cheating.
Oh, sorry.
Don't look at the notes. No, it's probably in the Quizlet, but I might have this week jumped to the Quizlet and forgot to put things in the glossary. But that's why we're seeing it and catching it now, and I'm putting it in. A nahar is a river. Okay, that's what a nahar is. A nahar is a river. So, nahar means and a river. Okay, and a river what? Yisoviveni. The river and a river Yisoviveni. So does anyone remember Yud prefix?
He or it.
He or it. Correct. What tense usually? Future. That's right. So and the river, it will. Now here I don't need to translate in English it because it's already implied by the and a river will. Okay. But in Hebrew, when I use the verb, I have to conjugate it with the subject who's doing the verb. So it puts the yud there. It's not translated in English because it's obvious. And a river, what? So you have Yisoviveni. I have this shorish samech bet savav. Now, did I forget to put that in the glossary too? We're about to find out. I feel like I
Yes,
remember.
you did.
I did, really? No, I didn't. There it is.
There's only one samek word.
It's right here. I have one over here, sa'ar, and
That
there's one over
yeah.
here,
Okay.
savav.
I missed it.
So it has nothing to do with sababa. Sababa is a slang word in Hebrew that means like cool, like, hey, how's it going? Sababa, it's all good. Sababa, everything, it's great. Sababa. I don't know where that comes from. It's a slang word from I don't know what. Likely it was borrowed from Arabic, but I don't know Arabic, so I can't tell you. So this word has nothing to do with sababa. Okay. I have a joke about sababa, but because we have so little time, we'll save it for another time. But savav is to surround or to go around. People know more commonly in Hebrew the word like saviv, around.
Savivon.
Sivivon, you think of sivivon, which is a dreidel, the top that we spin on Hanukkah, spins around. It's called a sivivon in Hebrew, which means a spinner. Spins around and around. Lehistovev in Hebrew. There we have that taf for the reflective. Lehistovev. Throw that taf in there to make it reflexive. To go around and around. Lehistovev, to turn around. Okay? I mean, you're turning yourself around. Lehistovev. So savav, to go around. So and a river surrounds or will surround. Let's go back to the text here. Ni, there's ni again. Go for it.
Me.
Okay. Now, you're going to see what I'm going to do here, and you're going to ask a question. The question you're asking is, how come I'm translating it in the present tense when it's future? And a river will surround me. Well, presumably because this is not something that hasn't yet happened. He's describing what did happen, but he's doing it poetically. So the future tense is used maybe to indicate like sequence. You threw me into the heart of the seas, and then you might say, and the river would surround me following that, which it did. I'm choosing the present tense because it makes the most sense in English. I think you're going to see the tenses switch up a lot in the poetry. So like vatashlicheni is you cast me, past tense. And then over here, we're going to see later, avaru is past tense, and in the middle is future. The switching of the tenses may indicate somewhat the chaos of what's going on, past, future. But we will find a lot in this type of poetic language that the future, and even in some of the prose of the Bible, that the future tense indicates a present tense. It's like something that's ongoing. So it's happening, and it's continuously happening. It will continue to happen. It's not such an anomaly, although it seems weird in English. But the easiest way to digest this word is to put it in the present tense as something that's ongoing. So, and a river surrounds me. But now let's ask the question. He's in the depths of the sea. How could a river be surrounding him? So normally I would say, what are your thoughts on the subject? But because for lack of time, I'll bring your attention to the notes where he may be referring to an ocean current, or some type of a whirlpool, which is a current of water spinning around. So in other words, a river is a current of water above ground, but as he's below the water describing a river, it sounds like he's describing some type of an ocean current that's surrounding him. Now, either that means he's caught in an ocean current, and so it's all around him because he's caught in it, or it's literally spinning around him. There's some type of a whirlpool. Now, he's inside the fish, mind you. So either he's describing what's happening to the fish is caught in a current, the fish is swimming with the current, or being tossed by the storm, or as some of the commentators say, this is a description of the sequence of events. You cast me into the depths in the heart of the seas. He's describing what happened. I was on the boat with the sailors, and because of what you caused to happen, God, and that's why this is causative, really means you caused me to be cast. They threw me into the sea. I was caught in the storm. There was this stormy waters twirling me around, and right then I ended up in the fish. But he's saying, this is what happened. This is what happened. I was thrown to the sea. The water surrounded me. So then here, the use of the future tense indicates the sequence. I was thrown into the sea, and from that point, what would happen next was then the river would come around me, as it did, meaning the sweeping current of the water. Okay, let's finish up. This is hard though, so we'll do the best we can. I hope I'm not going too quickly for people. Kol mishbarecha v'galecha. Okay, so the word kol is a very common word. Anyone know what the word kol means?
All.
Kol is all, right? You'll find it in the glossary. All. Okay, mishbarecha. I'm going to point out to you that the suffix here is the chaf sofit, and the chaf sofit suffix indicates what, for those who remember? It indicates you or your. Okay, you or your. So all your. Okay, and then we have the word mishbar. This is a new word. However, it has a shoresh, which I'm going to point out to you right now. Shavar, mishbar, has the shoresh shavar, shin bet resh, which we did see before. And does anyone remember what shavar is? Okay, shavar is to break, like we had that the waters. So we had it before. I'm not going to go back to it now. It's in a different chapter, but we did have that. So a mishbar, all your mishbar means all your breaking things. And I said things plural. Why did I say plural? Because we also learned that this yud here that comes before the suffix indicates the plural. So your mishbar, plural. You're breaking things. What are these breaking things? These are waves, okay? Breaking waves. So look in your glossary, you'll see it's there. I'm translating mishbar as a breaking wave, okay? And then the plural. All your breaking waves, vigalecha. So vav, and again, chaf sofit, cha suffix is your, which I forgot to put a line for. There it is now. And all your breaking waves, and you have the word gal. Does anyone know what gal is? Okay, so gal, you'll find in the glossary and the Quizlet, is also a wave. But the word gal is related to a circular motion, like a galgal in Hebrew is a wheel. Legalgal is to roll, okay? So these are rolling waves, okay? Mishbar is a breaking wave. So it's like a big, strong wave that comes up and crashes down, a crashing wave, if you will. A gal is a rolling wave, a soft rolling wave, okay? So, and your rolling waves, kol mishparecha v'galecha, all your breaking waves and your rolling waves, alai avaru. So alai comes from the word. Anyone? Give someone a chance on this. So you'll see that alai is made of the word al, which means what?
Upon or
On or over. Okay. And the suffix is, again, it's a yud, this time with a patach under the lamed. It's an I ending. I ending is very similar to E ending. And
Is
it
it still
means
me? Yeah, me, on
me.
me, over me.
Now,
Yeah.
sometimes it'll indicate my plural. Okay. I is also my plural. Like, if it would be my waves, like we have the word gal here, it would be galai. Galai would be my waves, where gali would be my waves singular. So the E is my singular and I is my plural. They both can mean me. Okay. Alai, over me, avaru. Avaru, the U we had before, I believe, is a suffix meaning they, past tense. So they, the waves, did this over me. What did the waves do over me?
crossed or passed.
Good. Avar is to pass. Could also be to cross over, right? Have passed over me. Okay. And you cast me to the depths in the heart of the seas, and the river surrounds me. Surrounding me means like a current of water, a strong current of water. All your breaking waves and your rolling waves have passed over me. So he's describing, again, either he's describing his present condition, meaning say, here I am in the fish and this is what's happening. I'm in the depths of the sea. The water is surrounding me. The waves are going over me because here I am underwater in the fish. Or he may be describing what led up to this. I got thrown into the sea. I was surrounded by the water. I went under, right here, this whirlpool of water going around and sucked me down under the waves. And so he's describing the trouble that has either occurred to him or that is presently occurring to him as a prelude to his request, essentially, for God's help. Okay. Now he said, "You called out and answered me." Really? God answered him? When? When did God answer him? So again, could be I went into the sea, I was drowning, I called to you, God saved me. I was sucked under the water, and right, the fish came and saved me, right? Or alternatively, he's saying that, so he could be thank you for saving me. Here I am in the fish. I'm in the fish. I'm alive. I'm not drowning anymore. God, you saved me. This is what happened to me, and you saved me from this. I went under the water, and so on. Or he's expressing his confidence. I'm in the fish calling out to you. I want to be saved from the fish. And it's as though you've already answered me, because you answer the prayers of those who call to you sincerely. Like God himself says, he says, Terem, what is it? Terem tikra va'ani a'aneh, odhem adabrim va'ani ashma, right? Before you call out to me, I have already answered you. They are yet speaking, and I have heard them. So God himself, and where's that verse? Maybe in Isaiah somewhere. So God says, he tells us that he will answer our prayers. So in that vein, Jonah is saying, it's as though you've already answered me because of my confidence that you answer the prayers of those who call out to you sincerely. So those are some basic understandings of what is meant in this poetic prayer of Jonah. And we're out of time, so I guess we'll call it a night.
Thank you.
Herman Q. Who are you, Herman Q? I haven't seen you before. Herman Q's is very nice, good teaching. Well, thank you, Herman Q. Don't be a stranger. Please come back and learn with us, study with us again. Okay, if there are no further comments or questions, I'm going to bounce.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Okay, thank you, Tom. Thank you, Avigal. And thank you to everyone who was participating over YouTube. Tim, and Sandy. And who else did we have tonight? David Ivans was here. And yeah. And now we have Herman Q. Okay, everyone. Thank you for joining. Have a super great, wonderful night. Bye-bye.